What happened when Jasmine Crockett went head-to-head with Tom Homan? In just minutes, she exposed shocking truths, left her opponents speechless, and sent social media into a frenzy. You won't believe how one bold move changed everything. The room was tense, charged with a mix of anticipation and unease. As Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett prepared to step into the spotlight once again, the air in the committee hearing hall was thick with whispers, cameras clicking, and aides shuffling papers, all waiting to witness what could become a defining moment in her political career. At the center of it all, Tom Homan, former acting director of ICE, had his notes prepared, certain that he was about to corner one of the most prominent figures in recent political headlines. Ilhan Omar. Crockett's eyes scanned the room, taking in the array of faces: reporters, government officials, and fellow lawmakers, all expecting fireworks. She had heard the rumors, the murmurs of misconduct, and the allegations of immigration fraud that had been swirling around Omar for months. But Crockett wasn't here to engage in hearsay. She came armed with facts, timelines, and an unwavering determination to expose the truth without losing her composure. Homan leaned forward, adjusting his microphone as he began his statement. His voice, firm and resonant, echoed through the chamber. "We have documented evidence," he said, sliding a folder across the table toward the clerk, "that raises serious questions about Representative Omar's activities regarding immigration filings and claims." There was a stir in the audience. Journalists began scribbling furiously, and cameras pivoted to capture every angle. Crockett didn't flinch. Instead, she leaned forward, her tone calm but charged with authority. "Mr. Homan, if you're going to present allegations, I expect them to be grounded in verified facts, not innuendo or political maneuvering," she said. Her words cut through the room like a razor, measured, precise, and impossible to ignore. There was a pause as Homan blinked. Clearly not expecting such a poised and calculated response, she continued, her voice steady, yet carrying the weight of conviction. "Let's be clear. Accusations of this magnitude require rigorous investigation, transparency, and accountability. If any wrongdoing occurred, it must be addressed through proper channels. But we will not allow speculative claims to tarnish the reputation of an elected official without substantial evidence." Her gaze swept across the room, locking briefly with every key figure, ensuring that her point landed with impact. The tension in the room was palpable. Observers whispered to one another, debating the possible outcomes. Would Homan push forward with his claims, or would Crockett's calm, authoritative stance force a reconsideration? There was an unmistakable electricity in the air, a sense that the next few moments could shift the political landscape dramatically. Then Crockett delivered what would become the defining line of the exchange. "If we are serious about integrity, let us focus not on sensational headlines, but on verifiable records and accountability. Anything less is a disservice to the public we serve." The room fell into an uneasy silence. Homan opened his mouth, hesitated, and then closed it again. Cameras captured the stunned expressions on officials' faces, reporters adjusting their lenses to get the perfect shot of Crockett's composed defiance. Her ability to control the narrative in real time was striking. Social media was already buzzing. Journalists live tweeting her responses, and political commentators speculating about the implications. The hashtag Crockett clapback began trending within minutes as clips of her statements were shared across multiple platforms. Analysts began dissecting her every word, highlighting the strategic precision of her statements, and comparing it to other moments in political history where a single, calm rebuttal had shifted public perception entirely. By the time the hearing adjourned, the effect was clear. Crockett had not only defended her principles, but had managed to put the spotlight squarely on accountability, forcing Homan and others to reconsider their approach. The conversation had shifted from speculation to evidence, from political drama to procedural rigor. Viewers at home, as well as the political elite inside the room, recognized the significance Jasmine Crockett had, once again, demonstrated why her voice was one of the most formidable in contemporary American politics. And as she exited the chamber, head held high, phones buzzing, cameras flashing, and aides trailing behind, there was a shared understanding among those watching. This was not just another hearing. It was a moment that could redefine reputations, set new precedents, and send ripples through the corridors of power. For Crockett, it was another testament to strategy, poise, and an unyielding commitment to truth, one that would resonate far beyond the walls of that room and into the national conversation. As the aftermath of the hearing settled, the media storm intensified. News outlets scrambled to capture reactions from both supporters and critics, with headlines ranging from "Crockett exposes alleged misconduct" to "Omar under fire again." Yet, amidst the chaos, Crockett remained composed, stepping out into the corridor with the same calm intensity that had defined her hearing. Reporters approached, microphones extended, eager to capture her next words. "Accountability isn't about theatrics," Crockett told the crowd, her voice resonating above the hubbub. "It's about ensuring that the systems we trust are fair, transparent, and rooted in fact. Anything less is a disservice to the public we represent." Every word was deliberate, measured, and unmistakably clear, designed to both educate and command attention. She refused to indulge in political dramatics, instead focusing on the principles she had championed throughout her career. Back inside the hearing hall, aides began cataloging the reactions, noting how quickly social media had latched on to her statements. Videos of her calm yet assertive confrontation with Homan had gone viral within minutes, shared thousands of times across platforms. Clips highlighting her insistence on evidence over speculation were already trending, and political commentators were dissecting the exchange for nuance, tone, and potential consequences. Analysts debated how this moment might influence not just Omar's standing, but the broader discourse around accountability in Congress. Meanwhile, Tom Homan found himself navigating the fallout. His meticulously prepared points were now overshadowed by Crockett's clarity and poise. Behind the scenes, aides whispered, calculations made. How could they regain control of the narrative without appearing defensive or dismissive? The initial plan to spotlight alleged wrongdoing had faltered, replaced by a public perception that emphasized integrity, truth, and measured judgment, qualities Crockett had wielded masterfully in the following hours. The exchange reverberated through social media like a shockwave. Political Twitter exploded with reactions. Pundits offered live analysis, and opinion pieces surfaced on major news outlets. Crockett's approach became the centerpiece of discussions on strategic communication, crisis management, and effective leadership under pressure. Scholars, commentators, and even rival politicians began to reference her methods as a case study in controlling high stakes narratives without losing credibility. Crockett herself remained focused. She had entered the day prepared for confrontation, but had turned the scenario into a lesson in measured power. Each response, carefully phrased, reinforced her credibility while subtly shifting the spotlight onto procedural rigor and evidence-based evaluation. Observers noted that she didn't attack Omar personally. She used the moment to highlight principles of accountability, due process, and transparency, principles that resonated with both her supporters and undecided observers. By evening, the political ramifications became evident. Lawmakers who had been skeptical of Crockett's influence began reconsidering their positions. Conversations in offices and private meetings revolved around her ability to handle intense scrutiny with such composure. Even those who disagreed with her policy stances acknowledged her strategic mastery and the viral impact of her calm, assertive public presence. The larger lesson from the day was clear. In modern politics, controlling the narrative doesn't require volume or aggression. It requires clarity, precision, and unwavering adherence to facts. Crockett had demonstrated this brilliantly, transforming a potentially volatile hearing into a platform for principled debate. Every tweet, clip, and article reinforced the perception that she could handle the most delicate political scenarios without faltering, leaving a lasting impression on both colleagues and constituents. As night fell and the city lights flickered across Washington, Crockett returned to her office. She reviewed the day's coverage, noting the patterns, the responses, and the conversations that had emerged. There was satisfaction in seeing the story evolve according to the framework she had set: factual, composed, and authoritative. Each word she had spoken that day reinforced her ability to steer discussions, manage perceptions, and maintain control even when the stakes were incredibly high. And while the controversy surrounding Omar and the allegations of misconduct remained, the narrative had undeniably shifted. Crockett had turned the day into a lesson in leadership and resilience, demonstrating to the nation how a measured approach could command respect and dominate discourse, even in the face of explosive claims and heated political tension. For Crockett, this was more than a win. It was a reaffirmation of strategy, integrity, and the power of commanding attention without succumbing to theatrics. The following morning, Washington was still buzzing. Analysts dissected every moment of Crockett's performance, replaying clips of her calm but unwavering challenge to Homan. The juxtaposition of her composure against the aggressive questioning had left a mark on the national conversation. News channels ran segments comparing her style to other high-profile congressional confrontations, praising her ability to command attention without resorting to shouting or theatrics. Inside her office, Crockett reviewed the unfolding coverage. Each clip, each article, each viral social media post confirmed what she already knew. Clarity, confidence, and preparation were her greatest assets. Her team was compiling data on how the public had responded, hashtags trending, shares, comments, and engagement across multiple platforms. The analytics painted a clear picture. She wasn't just winning arguments. She was controlling the narrative, subtly redefining the way political confrontation could be handled in real time. Meanwhile, critics scrambled to frame the story differently. Attempts to discredit her method or focus on minor slips fell flat, drowned out by the sheer volume of viral support. Social media users praised her fact-based approach, her refusal to engage in personal attacks, and her uncanny ability to turn the heat of confrontation into a platform for principle. Even political opponents privately acknowledged the effectiveness of her strategy, noting that while she had challenged Homan, she had done so without alienating observers or straying from her core message. On Capitol Hill, the ripple effects were palpable. Conversations in hallways, committee rooms, and offices reflected a growing recognition of Crockett's influence. Some lawmakers had previously underestimated her, assuming that her youth or limited tenure might make her vulnerable in high-stakes exchanges. The viral moment had shattered those assumptions, creating a quiet but powerful shift in perceptions. Her peers began to consult her on messaging strategies, observing how her deliberate phrasing and timing amplified the impact of every word. Back in the media sphere, opinion pieces and think pieces debated the implications. Commentators argued that Crockett had demonstrated a rare combination of political acumen and public relatability. By keeping the exchange centered on facts and systemic accountability, she had turned a potentially contentious moment into a masterclass in communication. The story wasn't just about the allegations against Omar anymore. It was about leadership under scrutiny, about the power of composure, and about shaping public discourse with precision. Even in private circles, the effects were evident. Advisors and strategists discussed how this viral moment could redefine campaign strategies, highlighting the growing importance of social media amplification in real-time political engagements. Crockett's approach became a blueprint for how elected officials could navigate high-pressure environments without compromising principles. demonstrating that influence was as much about delivery as it was about content. Later in the day, Crockett held a small press briefing. She addressed reporters with her signature calm intensity, reiterating the need for transparency and adherence to due process. "Our responsibility is to ensure that public trust is upheld," she emphasized. "That requires evidence, honesty, and courage to speak truth without fear. Anything less undermines the foundation of governance." The soundbites were immediately circulated online, capturing the essence of her approach: measured, authoritative, and commanding respect. As the sun set over the city, the narrative had firmly shifted. While allegations and political speculation continued, Crockett's ability to steer the conversation dominated the headlines. Her actions had proven that, in modern political discourse, a well-prepared and composed leader could eclipse even the most sensational claims. Analysts began discussing how her approach might influence upcoming hearings, debates, and even the next electoral cycle. Recognizing that her moment of clarity had set a new standard, Crockett's day ended as it had begun, focused and intentional. She reviewed each piece of coverage, noting which messages resonated most with the public. Every detail mattered: tone, phrasing, timing, and each element had been orchestrated to reinforce her credibility and influence. The viral exchange was no longer just a moment. It was a case study in leadership under pressure, one that would be referenced long after the headlines faded. By the evening, the national conversation had solidified. Crockett's presence, her mastery of timing and delivery, and her adherence to principle over spectacle had made her a defining figure in the political moment. She had turned a confrontation into an opportunity to set the agenda, to highlight systemic issues, and to demonstrate that effective leadership was rooted in evidence, clarity, and unwavering confidence. The impact would reverberate for weeks, influencing conversations in Washington, across social media, and in homes across the country. Her strategy was simple but powerful: stay composed, speak with authority, and always anchor arguments in fact. As discussions continued, both supporters and skeptics recognized the brilliance of her approach. She had not only defended her position, but elevated the standard of public political discourse, proving that even in high-stakes, viral moments, integrity and clarity could dominate chaos. As the following day dawned, the political landscape felt the aftershocks of Crockett's confrontation. Media outlets were flooded with analyses, clips, and debates dissecting every word she had said. Commentators marveled at her ability to pivot a heated exchange into a teaching moment for the public, demonstrating not only political savvy, but also a level of composure rarely seen under such pressure. Her approach had turned a potentially chaotic scenario into a masterclass in strategy and communication. Across Washington, lawmakers, aides, and strategists began to quietly take notes. There was talk in committee rooms about how Crockett had shifted the focus from personal attacks to systemic accountability, reframing the narrative in a way that demanded attention. Her words had the effect of forcing even her critics to address the facts she presented, making it impossible to dismiss the substance of her argument. Social media metrics confirmed the reach millions had watched, engaged, and shared, amplifying her influence far beyond the halls of Congress. Meanwhile, inside the corridors of power, conversations turned to damage control. Opponents realized that Crockett's calm authority had neutralized any attempts to undermine her credibility. Analysts pointed out that her timing, tone, and selective emphasis of key facts had created a perfect storm of impact. Every retort, every clarification, every factual assertion was calculated to resonate, and it had done so with precision. The viral momentum wasn't just about her challenge. It was about the way she controlled the narrative without ever raising her voice or appearing flustered back on social media. The public reaction was electric. Clips of Crockett speaking were looped endlessly, with commentary praising her poise, intelligence, and unwavering commitment to truth. Viewers noted how she managed to expose inconsistencies, challenge assumptions, and keep the discussion focused on accountability, all while maintaining a composed demeanor. Her approach set a new standard for how elected officials could engage with difficult topics in a highly scrutinized environment. Blending performance, substance, and strategy seamlessly, political insiders noted the broader implications. Crockett's moment had demonstrated the power of preparation, media awareness, and precision messaging in shaping public perception. Campaigns began to examine her approach as a model for future debates and hearings, acknowledging that a viral moment like this could redefine electoral strategy and public engagement. Even among critics, there was a begrudging respect for her ability to dominate the conversation while staying on message. As the day progressed, Crockett's office fielded calls from journalists, constituents, and advocacy groups. Each conversation reinforced the impact of her message. People weren't just reacting to the confrontation. They were inspired by the clarity and authority she had exhibited. Analysts noted that her approach had shifted the debate from reactive posturing to proactive leadership, establishing her as a figure capable of commanding both attention and respect in her strategy sessions. Crockett emphasized consistency and authenticity. Every statement, every interaction, every engagement was crafted to reinforce the central narrative: accountability, transparency, and principle-driven leadership. Her team meticulously tracked media coverage, public response, and engagement analytics to ensure that the viral moment translated into lasting influence. It was clear that the story wasn't just a headline, it was a movement in perception, a shift in expectations for what leadership could look like. By evening, Crockett reflected on the magnitude of the moment. The confrontation with Homan and its viral aftermath had revealed the intersection of media, politics, and public opinion in modern governance. She recognized that her performance was more than a single exchange. It was an opportunity to shape discourse, inspire confidence, and demonstrate that effective leadership relied on intellect, strategy, and calm authority rather than theatrics. Across the country, viewers were still discussing the implications. Commentary highlighted how Crockett had exemplified a new model for public engagement: measured, precise, and fact-based. Her ability to handle high-pressure situations had set her apart, making her a case study for both current and future political leaders. The viral moment served as a reminder that clarity, preparation, and integrity could dominate even the most chaotic and scrutinized moments in public life. As night fell, the headlines continued to roll in. Analysts, journalists, and social media users alike emphasized one point: Crockett had rewritten the rules of engagement in real time. Her calm but incisive challenge had shifted narratives, influenced discussions, and captured the public's attention like few moments in recent political history. She had turned confrontation into opportunity, chaos into clarity, and scrutiny into influence. By the time the city lights of Washington flickered on, the impact of Crockett's actions was undeniable. She had demonstrated that the power of preparation, the strength of principle, and the precision of messaging could outshine aggression, spectacle, and intimidation. The viral exchange was no longer just a fleeting moment, it had become a benchmark for effective leadership, a template for navigating high-stakes encounters, and a testament to the enduring influence of a poised, strategic, and fearless public figure.